Hey, what's going on, guys? Money Making Joey back here doing another video for you guys. And this video is actually going to be a tad bit different. It's just going to be me here in the corner of the screen with you guys. And for the most part, you're going to just see a calculator here up on the screen for you guys. Because basically inside of this video, we're going to be kind of crunching some numbers because I did a video a few weeks ago and it's actually gotten a decent amount of views on making $2,000 per week driving for Uber. Now, inside of that video, I gave you guys my honest opinion on making $2,000 a week. If you didn't see that video, I definitely would recommend that you go ahead and, get subscribed to the channel, go back and watch that video, because one thing inside of that video that I did not do was specifically kind of get into it and crunch the numbers for you guys on the possibilities of making $2,000 a week and then what kind of expenses goes along with it. Now, I'm going to put this disclaimer out there for you guys. I've been in the rideshare industry going on 6 years now. I have been in the rideshare industry part-time. There has never been a point where I personally was doing this 60, 70 hours a week. I am not going to lie to you guys. I've never tried it. Rideshare, Uber, and Lyft is something that I partake in part-time. Now, I am going to be giving you guys my opinion on this as such. And now, and I feel like I have the right to give this opinion because typically my hours on the road per week range is typically around 30, 35 hours a week, which I guess you can say is essentially half of what a full-time go-hard driver would actually be putting in on the road. Like when I browse around on the YouTube space, typically, you have some guys out there, they're openly putting in, 70, 80 hours per week on the apps to get away with pulling this total of $2,000 per week actually off. So now, for all example purposes, I am going to use the 70 hours in-app example. And when I say in-app example, 70 hours in the app, in my opinion, is actually a 80-hour easy work week when you consider, let's say you were an hour out at the end of your shift each day and you had to drive that hour back to your house. That has to be definitely counted in on your day. So all of the numbers that we're going to be crunching is going to be based on a 70-hour work week. We're going to take that as the example here. So now, the first thing that I want to do is go ahead and put what we're looking to make here, $2,000 per week in the calculator. Now, I want to divide that by the 70 hours. Now, when we divide that by 70 hours, we get $28.57 that we would be making per hour prior to expenses. And this is very important because one thing that I definitely want to point out, and this is just something that, I've been experiencing, and you guys can get down in the comments below and let me know what's going on in your region, because like I've pointed out in prior videos, every area in the United States is different. Like what I'm getting paid to drive in North Jersey is not the same someone's getting in Florida, California, Ohio. We are all not the same. Now, how can I put this? When I look at different YouTubers' videos, one thing that I notice a lot is that when they show these $2,000 weeks, when they actually pull up Uber or Lyft, whatever platform it actually was, one thing in particular that always stands out kind of funny to me is that when you look at the Quest promotions, all of the bonuses that they got for the week, whether there was the actual Quest promotion or there was some kind of incentive where they were getting a per trip bonus for the hour, whatever the case may be, you'll have this $2,000 week, but then now when you see the breakdown, you have, several $100s. I commonly see $700 that they did for the week in these bonuses. Now, when you're factoring in these numbers and you break it down to the hours you worked and get this hourly rate, it's in my important, it's in my opinion, it's important to point out that if you have a week where you're driving on the Uber or Lyft platform and you're able to accomplish getting $700, even $500, let's say, in bonuses, not just the ride money, it's going to be way more easier to go ahead and pull that $2,000 a week off. Like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Sometimes when I watch these videos, I'm like, well, what's going on in your region that's not going on in my region? Because there has never been a week where I have been able to pull off getting several $100s in Quest promotions. Like, I have my phone right here. Give me a second, guys, because I want to pull you guys up the current week's offer. Now, today when I'm making this video, excuse me, it's Sunday. So we have the ones that just came out for the week that ends on Thursday. Now, look at this pathetic crap. You guys can actually see it. That's the very top promotion where it's actually 90 trips. You get $50, you do an extra 10, so a whopping 100 trips, you get $65. Now, granted, we're in the middle of slow season at the current moment. We're just touching the end of January, getting ready to go into February. So commonly in my region, the Quest promotions around this time are a tad bit lower. So that's not unusual. Now, if we fast forward into high season, let's say the summertime, let's even use the holidays, for example. In North Jersey, where I drive Uber and Lyft, I'm going to be honest, at best, the most I might see during, let's take the best time, because that's the weekday Quest. Let's take the actual weekend Quest, which is typically, the actual highest. That main top bonus, let's hypothetically say you were gunning for 90 trips, and that's what you actually wanted. I would say I typically see that highest one for maybe somewhere around $270. And that's for the weekend one. The one during the week will probably be $170. So if you have the opportunity to knock an extra $100 off in these Quest bonuses, you're way easier to get to this number. Now, I'm going to be honest. This number that we currently have in the calculator, $28.57 an hour, I am going to be 100% transparent and honest with you guys. Typically, when I am out on the road driving on these platforms in North Jersey, this is a achievable hourly rate that I will touch, but is it the average? Is it the norm? No. I am going to let you guys know typically the average for me is around 23-ish. And when I say 23, like I said, I want to point this out again. This is more like the norm. If you're getting those 28, those $30 average weeks, that was just a great week. You probably had great Quest promotions. You might have had great rides, whatever the case may be. But it's important to point out that this is not the norm. If you count that for, let's say, 4 months in the summertime and November and December for the holidays, yes, I might be able to touch $28, $32 an hour on average. But those 6 months out of the year do not equate for the other 6 months where I'm actually averaging more like $23 per hour. So if we take this number of $23 per hour and we times that by a 70 hour week, we're kind of more so getting into the average of around $1,600, which I'm going to be honest with you guys, if you're out there on the road putting in 70 hours on the app, this should be something that is definitely achievable for you. And for a lot of people out there, I'm going to be honest, that this might actually be something that's good for you. Now, whether we base the expenses off of the $2,000 a week or the $1,600 a week, it's a $400 difference. What you choose to equate the numbers on is going to be up to you. From here, going into expenses, we're going to go ahead and take this $1,600 number. Don't take the $2,000 number, because like the example I gave you guys previously, that is not going, I can guarantee you, and you guys let me know if I'm wrong down in the comments, to take that top end number and consider that the norm, forget about it. So let's say, you're a go hard driver. You're out there, it's your full-time job and it's also your part-time job. And for a lot of people, I can understand, because you have a lot of people out there that in their life, working two jobs was the norm before rideshare came along. So it's quite easy for them to go out there and get on the road and put 70 hours a week in. So getting to $1,600, cool. We're actually there. Now, if you're someone out there and you're driving on the road that many hours, it's going to be safe to assume that you're going to have a more newer vehicle. That vehicle is probably going to be financed, so you're going to have a monthly finance payment, and you might as well just go ahead and assume that as a business expense, because even though you're probably also using that same vehicle for personal use, your personal use is like that teeny compared to what you're actually using the vehicle for overall, which is 70 hours per week driving for Uber and Lyft. So of course we're going to take that number out, and then of course you got your insurance policy that's full coverage. So let's hypothetically say those two expenses alone might cost you $900 a month. But what I mostly want to focus on is like gas, because now for someone that's driving, honestly, in my opinion, 70 hours per week, and it's going to depend on how you break that down. I'm going to assume you're probably banging the whole 12 out, 6 days a week. You take 1 day off for yourself, and then now I'm like let's remember the number 1,600. We're going to go ahead and we're going to clear that out. And remember, guys, I'm assuming these numbers based upon my part-time numbers, because for my 30 to 35 hours on the road, I typically go through about 3 tanks of gas. So I am going to put a 70-hour driver at going through 6 tanks of gas, and at the average cost of gas, let's say it costs me around $40 to fill up. So you got $240 on gas that you would get for the week. You got to definitely go ahead and get that car cleaned as well. Let's say that's another $25. So $265 is what we would actually come to. So that $1,600 with getting the car cleaned and your gas for the week, minus out the $265, you are now left with $1,335. Not too shabby, you say. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Now, I typically get an oil change on my car every 2 months. I am going to be honest. If you're someone that's driving 70 hours a week, I can almost guarantee you're putting at least 1,000 miles, maybe more than that, depending on if you're taking a lot of long trips. If you're someone that takes a lot of long trips, you're probably going more towards 1,500 miles per week. But nevertheless, you're going to average at least bare bone minimum 1,000 miles per week on your vehicle. So now that's 4,000 miles per month. You might can inch a little bit past the month on an oil change, but I'm going to let you guys know, getting oil changes on the regular is very cheap compared to messing up your motor and needing a brand new motor. So get oil changes as frequently as possible. For you guys out there that's driving 70 hours per week, I definitely would recommend getting an oil change every single month. Now, there is a trick to it, because now since you're getting oil changes on your vehicle so often. Like, I know there's a lot of you out there, when you go to get the oil changes at the Jiffy Lube or whatever the case may be, you're going ahead and getting the synthetic. You're paying a tad bit more. Oil changes might be 75 bucks, 100 bucks. In my opinion, you guys can do what you want. You guys can actually, but I'm not a mechanic. But what I would recommend doing is getting the cheapest oil change that you can get with the regular oil, since you're going to be doing this on your vehicle every single month. But nevertheless, let's factor in another, let's take away, let's say, if you get an oil change once a month at 60 bucks, let's say that's you minus another $15 a week off, for your actual oil changes for that month. So you're at 1320. 1320. Here's where we kind of move forward a little bit. So you're making 1320 a week. You got your oil change paid for. You got your gas paid for. You got your car cleaned and everything like that. So now you got 4 weeks in the month. Times that by 4. You have made $5,280 for the month. Now you got that wonderful car payment. Let's say 500 bucks. You got full coverage insurance. Let's say another 300 bucks. You are now down to $4,480. Now, there's 12 months in a year. Now, you make 4,000, before I get that far, because now when we really consider expenses, I want to go ahead and move forward into giving you guys a total of what this would look like as far as income for the year. And then now when we get that total of the income per year, we can then now go ahead and try to move in and predict some long-term expenses that, in my all honest opinion, I believe like a lot of different drivers out there really don't look at the long-term spectrum of things and really kind of consider some of these long-term expenses that you will occur as well. So, like I said, 4,480 bucks, not too shabby for the month. When we go ahead and times that by 12, you have an annual salary after those expenses of $53,760. Now that again is not going to be, the full total of what you're actually going to be walking away with. Now, due to the fact that we have other maintenance expenses on the vehicle, because now you've beat this vehicle 70 hours per week driving on the Uber and Lyft platform for a total of 52 weeks for the year. Now, 1,000 miles per week, you're looking at 52,000 miles that you have added onto this vehicle for the year. In that year, you're going to have some guaranteed maintenance expenses on the vehicle, and you're going to have some surprise maintenance surprise maintenance things that happen to that vehicle. Now, some of the planned maintenance things are going to be tune-ups. If you're someone out there and you're putting, 50, 60,000 miles per year on your vehicle, you're probably going to want to be tuning this vehicle up at least twice per year, which a tune-up is probably going to run you somewhere around $300-400 bucks. So that's let's say $700-800 bucks, for the year. Let's say that knocks you down, to like an even 53. Now, before I even speak about the unexpected, well, actually, you know what? There is another thing. You're going to need to change tires. Now, when it comes to tires, I buy pre-owned tires, and the reason why I buy pre-owned tires is because, just like what I said about the oil, your tires are going to be something that you will be changing out on the vehicle often. Let's say a guaranteed maybe 2 times per year. Now, some people won't put used tires on their car. If you go out and try to buy a brand new tire, typically they're going to run around 200 bucks. Whereas you can get a pre-owned used tire at a shop for, depending on the size, maybe somewhere between 50 and 70 bucks. Typically, I can get away with 2 sets of used tires per year very easily, and I might spend maybe $200-300. So let's say you take another $300 out, get yourself some tires, whatever the case may be. Now, moving forward from that, before I get into any other mechanical thing that can go unexpected with your vehicle, another thing every single year that you have to take into consideration is the devaluation that you have done on your vehicle. One thing that I would recommend for all of the drivers out there is annually, every single time that you get your 1099 for Uber, you make sure that you keep a log somewhere in your files. Every single year around that time, check Kelley Blue Book, kbb.com, and get the current valuation on your vehicle with the current mileage you have on it at that date, and compare it to the year prior to see how much you have devalued your vehicle. And I know a lot of you drivers out there don't actually do this, but if you're in ride share and it's not something that you're doing part-time like me, and you're really someone that's putting 70 hours per week into this, I'm going to definitely recommend that you treat it like a business. And these are definitely numbers that you are going to need to figure out. So now, who knows how much that number is actually going to be when you consider how much you have devalued your vehicle this year. Like, think about it. You've put 50, 60,000 miles on this vehicle. Let's say it's a new vehicle. You bought it certified pre-owned. It's got 30,000. You put 60. You now have 90,000 miles on that vehicle. You do this for one more year, it gets even lower and lower and lower. So let's hypothetically just throw a number out there, like, and this number comes again from someone that's experienced part-time. I do these numbers and I know how much I've devalued my vehicle down by year. So now for someone that's out here on the road putting 50, 60,000 miles in, doing 70 hours per week, I'm going to tell you, you're probably looking at $6,000 to $7,000 per month in devaluation. I'm not sorry, not per month, but annually devaluation of that actual vehicle. So now, let's say we go with the lower end. We take 6,000 off. You're now down to 46,760, and we still didn't get into any unexpected repairs. Like, I'm just gonna throw some out there. You might need a new battery. You might need a new alternator. You might, at worst case scenario, and I hate to say it, but the truth of the matter is, if you do this long enough, if you do 50, 60,000 miles on your vehicle long enough, because a lot of you guys are getting into these finance situations, and the truth of the matter is, if you take a 7-year finance out on a vehicle and your plans are to do this 70-hour work week in that vehicle, think about it. 50,000 miles per year for 7 years. At the end of your 7-year finance, how many miles are actually going to be on that vehicle, and what is that vehicle, actually now going to be worth? And for some of you, you'll wind up putting a motor, you'll wind up putting a transmission, things that cost thousands of dollars. So I don't want to make this video too long. So now, with that being said, I mean, you can get a perfect vehicle that rides in the sunset to 300,000 miles, and you never have to put thousands of dollars worth of maintenance in it. That can very well happen. But there's also going to be a lot of people on the flip side of the coin that they're going to have to spend those thousands of dollars. So that's something that you have to consider, something you have to factor in, because on a good scenario, you might have to, spend a couple $100. You might have to spend $1,000 at best. On good years for me, that was actually the case, but then there was those years that I spent thousands of dollars. So that is something that's very important when it comes into you thinking about doing this, due to the fact that Like I said, we're down to 46,760. On a nice year, we might could take this down $1,000 and be at 45,000. Or we could have a horrible year and take 7,000 off this and be at, let's hypothetically say 39,000. Definitely something, to actually consider. Now, some of you guys might actually be wondering what's the best solution for this. One thing that I would definitely recommend is that as you're going along inside of your journey and you're making this extra money, always have an emergency stash. You might want to create like an extra savings account with your bank, but it's linked to your checking and you can just transfer money over. So that way, it's going to be very important to have a nest egg. And I would say that this nest egg probably needs to be somewhere, at least let's say $5,000. And this is your emergency stash should any car repairs come about that you need to do. Because one thing that I will definitely tell you guys out there for certain is that you don't want to be in a situation where your vehicle is your money maker and something happens with your vehicle and then now you no longer have that vehicle and you're sitting there stuck because you don't have the money to repair that vehicle. Also, if you're out there working 70 hours per week, you're going to need to make sure that at all times this vehicle is in working condition no matter what. So God forbid if one day your transmission goes out, if you have that money sitting there, it's going to be absolutely nothing for you to go ahead and pull that vehicle into a shop, pull out the $4,000. Hey, call me when it's ready. It's going to be way easier for you to take those 2-3 days off, take some time to relax, whereas now you're in a position where you're scrambling and trying to figure out how you're going to meet this obligation with this $4,000 repair bill. So I am actually going to wrap this video up right here, and I hope this definitely, gave you guys some insight and made you guys think. Do me a favor. If you guys have found value from this video, do definitely give this video a thumbs up. And if this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, do definitely go ahead and get subscribed to the channel. Money Making Joey, I'm out of here, and I will see you guys in the next one.